Hey guys, MC Mura here, and today we're gonna talk about something really interesting with Street Fighter, something that I think the vast majority of the players may not notice or really think about it that much, but I've been thinking about it a lot ever since Alex have joined the roster, and ever since I really started thinking about the most recent patch and the overall direction, and that is when the game is almost hiding information from players in favor of like certain mix-ups or to make certain situations kind of like more ambiguous than they need to be. This is nothing that new, but they've been really aggressive with it in this recent patch. So let me explain. So Alex has this special move which is flash chops. There is a light and the medium versions, right? I hidden the input. I am hiding the frame data. Can you tell me which is which? It is actually very difficult because the animation, it's exact same animation. There is a very minor effect that you're not gonna notice in the heat of the match, but one of these moves is actually safe. It's -4, but there is a ton of pushback, and another is actively unsafe at -6, so you can actually get a punish. But can you tell which is which? I bet that is gonna be difficult. And here is another case of the same situation kind of happening with Viper, right? Where Capcom made specific versions of the burn kick plus on block, but the heavy kick version is still -2. So can you tell me which one of these is plus and which one was negative? It's actually the same voice line. Like if I did them in the neutral, if I'm far away, this is obviously the medium, and this is obviously the heavy. But if I'm doing it like that in a block string, Viper is saying the same thing. It's the same voice line, the move looks exactly the same, but one of these are -2, one of these are +1. And it's gonna be extremely difficult for the Manon to identify which is which. And this actually does matter kinda, because there are situations like say that Manon's gonna try to interrupt. If I go for the heavy version, Viper will actually beat Manon. But if I went for the medium version, Manon's anti-air will come out. But if Manon is just trying to block everything, well, she gotta guess. She pretty much gotta guess which one is block, which one is plus, and which one is not. And Lily is another example of where Capcom made a change to her like OD counter spire. And this is actually, I think, is pretty cool. And let me actually show you the frame data for this one. But what Capcom did is that depending on which button combination you're pressing, the distance will actually differ. So if I do counter spire with medium and heavy, this is now -1. If I do it with light and medium, this is +4. If I do it with light and heavy, this is +3. And the idea is they want to give you like an option to whiff it, so that then like you can transition into like command grab, kind of like baiting the reversal, right? And it is the same exact voice line, it is the same exact animation, she just travels differently. There is no way for Manon to tell which version Lily is doing. Right? Maybe on contact, like you can have a feel here, like this was meaty enough, but the move is really fast. It's like 40 frames total and she's flying at you. So it's like you're not gonna be able to tell which is which. And that is something that I actually don't like that much. I don't like when there isn't enough visual information or even audio information to let you know. And hey, sometimes it is ambiguous by design. Like one of the main ones for this game was Ken and his Genrai, right? So for Genrai, there are two versions, light and heavy, right? Light and medium. And the frame traps out of them is actually different. Like for example, we're gonna have Manon here check, right? If Ken does light Genrai, all of his follow-ups will actually be punish countered punish, right? He can't get a follow-up. But if Ken went for the medium, the light will actually frame trap. But check out the voice line. That is the light, Doria, 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 with the medium, Dia, Dia. So Dia you don't have the ability to check. Duria, you do have the ability to check, right? So, but here's the thing. This is a very subtle voice line differences. Chances are, if you're playing, if there is background music, I actually turned music off. There is a very likely chance that you're not going to be able to tell them just by speed, because it's like 12 frame and 16 frames. So it's like the speed difference isn't that big. So you're not going to be able to tell them by frames alone, but at least there is a difference in the voice lines. Where with like a Viper situation or like a Lily situation, there is none. It's just doing these moves, and it's on you to figure it out which one was, like which version Lily's doing. Is she gonna stop short? Is she gonna touch me? And the same with Viper. Is it the plus or block version? Or maybe Viper will just go for the heavy version and you're gonna assume it's plus and she's gonna take her turn. Now, the reason I'm saying this is not really something new is because this have existed in the past. For example, Ryu, right? So Ryu has his Hadokens, right? He is saying the same exact voice line, Hadouken, 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 and it's all the same exact animation as well, right? The overall animation is the same. So even though the startup may differ a little bit, the overall animation is the same. But the thing is, you could identify them by the fireball speed, and that actually played into the fireball traps for Ryu. So from this distance, for example, he can throw a light Hadouken and you can't jump the next one. He's gonna uppercut you in time. But if he did it with a heavy Hadouken, you're gonna be able to land and block. But here's the thing. From this distance, by the time that you as the Manon you visualize and notice the speed, if you blocked the heavy fireball, chances are you're not gonna process fast enough that, oh my god, that's a fireball, this is not a safe fireball trap, now I'm gonna jump. It's not gonna happen that way, right? So it was kind of like inherently hiding that information on a visual level, at least an audio level as well, to kind of improve the fireball trap. But in that instance, I think that's fine, but the examples I showed you where Viper is in your face, Lily's in your face, I feel like these are generally like much more powerful options. But let's take a look at how that have changed over the years. So I got Street Fighter 4 over here because I wanted to show you something really fun, and that have got to do with Shani. As you know, in Street Fighter 6, Shani have her Kikoken Fireball, and it kind of worked the same in Street Fighter 4, where we got light, medium, heavy, and the distance they travel would be different. But in Street Fighter 4, Capcom had really creative ways of portraying which version is which. So for special moves, for example, like Hazanshu, like you could tell by how high she's flying. So this is light, this is medium, and this is heavy, right? And you can kind of tell, you can kind of easily tell them apart. And the same for spinning bird kick. Short spinning bird kick, and this is like heavy spinning bird kick. Makes sense. But for the fireballs, this is the light, this is the medium, and this is the OD or EX, and this is the heavy. Chun-Li actually had a different throwing animation on the fireball depending on which version you're doing, and like I said, the properties are kind of like Street Fighter 6. This is the light will hit Cody full screen, medium is not gonna reach, and heavy got about the same range as a medium, but it's slightly faster. I thought that was really cool. Obviously it's a lot of work, but I feel like this was one of the coolest way in where Capcom could portray you the information of the fireballs. Rose in Street Fighter 5 was also another character where Capcom had a really fun and creative way of portraying you the information you needed to know, but in a cool way. So Rose, like many other characters, had fireballs with like light, medium, heavy, and all of that. So what Capcom did with Rose is that the strengths of her special would alter the color of the scarf, which is like really cool. So like light, medium, heavy, it is the same animation, right? But notice this, it's a light version, the scarf is kind of purpley, the medium version, it is bluish, the heavy version, it's a green scarf. And that's kind of the same for the spiral as well. If I'm going for the light spiral, it's gonna be purple. If I'm going for the medium spiral, it's gonna be blue. And if I'm going for the heavy spiral, it's gonna be green. And the reason that they did it is that Rose actually had like a really powerful V-Trigger 1, where she could like throw a fireball and then teleport, and the speed of which fireball she did would differ depending on the version. Like just like any other fireball character, light, medium, heavy would change the speed. So you needed to know which fireball she's doing, so that you would know like which way to block, because you obviously have to block opposite of rows. So that was really, really cool, and that was like a really fun and creative way of portraying user information. So I know that overall this is not really that big of a deal, if I'm being honest, and it only affects like certain characters and certain sequences and setups. And hey, I play Viper, so this is like to my advantage. Everyone now just assumes that burn kick is a blossom block, and I know that there will be some out there that really like the fact that the game is kind of like hiding the information from you, and it's like back in my day we had to figure it out. But I would say especially for newcomers, it could be very difficult, and even intermediates, it could be very difficult to identify like what just happened, right? And I kind of find it odd, because otherwise this game have been very good with delivering information, like this is a blossom block burn knuckle, or like maybe from here, this is like the blossom block burn knuckle, and they show you the information in an easy way, right? And they kind of did something similar with Kami dive kick, or like, oh my god, this is a really big perfect dive kick, so it's like it's easier to know. I think this is one of these cases where better transparency, even if it is post fact, is better for the game. Like how, for example, if you're playing a character like Ryu, and you really got fooled on, like, say, you're trying to parry Hadokens, and then he did like Hashogeki and whiffed it, and then like grabbed you. You identify what happened, right? And it's like it's obvious that this was the intention, but having the two moves that look exactly the same but may operate differently, have the same voice lines, I don't know. I feel like the game, I would like Capcom to not do that. Like Street Fighter 6 is already as gambly as it is. So I think the game should do its best to portray the information in the best ways possible for the players. I don't expect every character to have different fireball throwing animation. I don't expect Hadouken to be like red, blue, green, depending on which version you're throwing. And in the case of like a fireball war, that makes sense. But in the case of a Viper burn kick, or Alex randomly throwing one out in a block string, or something like Lily, where like she just doesn't mix up because she exists, I'm not the biggest fan of that. I would like to see better visual information being portrayed to the players. Anyways, what are your thoughts? Do you think I'm crazy? Do you agree with me? I would love to hear your thoughts all about it in the comment section below. We'll be leaving a link to the Patreon, Discord, Twitter, and Twitch pages in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and stay safe.